Hey, Tessa, how time flies. This is our second vid.
Woohoo.
And have you got another prop?
Yes, I've brought my second weapon I have an axe
Oh,
that's
wow.
hanging behind me.
Oh, wow. Okay. So my six daggers probably equal one axe. So we're probably about equal for today. But we're not going to be talking about daggers. We're not going to be talking about axes. We are going to be talking about FedEx and InPost because this potential deal, which personally I think is actually going to happen, was announced a while back. I think they're sort of just about at the point where it's going to happen soon. But what I'd like to talk about is not what's going to happen in Europe, because for those who don't know, Tessa's responsible for Bloq.it in North America. And we're going to talk about North America, but specifically the US. I think this deal is super sexy because if you put together FedEx, who, according to our last out of home report, I think they have about 45,000 access points in the United States. Now, you start building lockers on that. It sort of reminds me of France and lockers as a sort of, copy paste model. What's your view, Tessa?
I love it. I love it so much. I think we are seeing a major American carrier committing billions of dollars to ownership of a locker-led out-of-home infrastructure. I think it's a really beautiful partnership. Yeah, I'm a fan, big fan.
And you know what I like, Tessa? Historically, I have to say, I've called FedEx and UPS legacy carriers because, to be fair, innovation was made in America in terms of the last mile from the 60s onwards. And then I sort of got the feeling it's a bit like Kodak, where these were the guys that did just about everything with traditional film. And then digital came and sort of they lost the plot. They kept improving on classic traditional film, but the market was going a different way. And I think it's really cool that FedEx has actually said, hold on a minute, we need to be a part of this. And if this deal does happen, my personal view is, for me, it's a clear case that FedEx is going to leverage the knowledge, expertise that InPost has to upgrade the infrastructure in the US to be a mixed infrastructure of access points and lockers. Agree? Disagree?
Strongly agree. I think it gives them, like you said, that strategic access. I think it gives them optionality is the big one. Something I haven't heard a lot of people talk about is FedEx Office is not actually the same corporate entity as FedEx. FedEx Office has over 2,000 locations, like physical brick and mortar stores in North America. So part of the same corporate system. So it's a really interesting question of whether FedEx eventually joins digital parcel capabilities and then leverages their physical retail footprint into a stronger out of home proposition. I actually talked to a couple experts about this. bpost sort of out of home model where they have those brick and mortar exchange points. I think that would be a really attractive fit for InPost FedEx collaboration, but the options are endless depending on how the market moves.
And I reckon that I should say, if and when FedEx gets access to the knowledge base, because let's be honest, in Europe, InPost wrote the book on out of home. The degree I've talked to people working with them and the sort of degree of expertise, the depth that they drill down in this space is incredible. There is one player I have to say that I think is probably best in class in the Americas, which is actually Amazon, that also understands lockers pretty well. But the commercial carriers, I think this really creates an alternative. Do you think I'm sort of thinking too big here? Because my thinking is this: provided FedEx listens and doesn't try to change the model that's worked so well, but if FedEx is able to become almost the platform upon which InPost can do their stuff in the US, I really believe that this could be a network that is genuinely able to compete with Amazon's and genuinely to become the number two network in the US.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, what I love about InPost is their ingenuity. Some of the stuff they're doing is really brilliant outside the box with them shipping, the suitcases, for example. Big fan of that. And a lot of the traditional carriers in the United States are really conservative, FedEx included. So the only ingenuity we're really seeing with taking appetite for risk is Amazon and sort of some of these experimentations that they're doing purely because they have the capital to do so. But Amazon actually, really has a brand problem in the United States as well. There's been a lot of public backlashes about some of their infrastructure being placed on public spaces and stuff because of the perceptions of environmentalism and, quite a few other things that go with the Amazon brand. So Amazon is super brilliant and smart with a lot of those things, but I think that the American public, North American public will embrace some of this ingenuity a little bit more if it actually comes from one of the more traditional carriers like FedEx. So InPost gives them that ability to do so. They can do it under the InPost brand and really try things that would separate them from the conservative corporate entity.
Well, about 10 years ago, I predicted when Advent called me, I said, guys, this is going to be the next best thing since sliced bread. And I'm going to predict that if this deal happens and if genuinely FedEx are able to team up in a good way, leveraging their incredible knowledge of the US market with InPost knowledge of out of home, this is really going to be a big deal. So, Tessa, let's observe. I think we're aligned on this one. Looking forward to our next chat.